I am the Chief Commercial Officer at DoubleVerify. We do digital ad measurement, verification, and optimization. Many of you are clients, so thank you very much. Many of you are partners, as Sean is, so thank you very much. And then the other thing is, before I was at DoubleVerify, I was fortunate enough to work at Google for 7 years. So Sean and I worked very closely together.
Was it only 7 years?
It was only 7 years.
Felt like 20.
It did feel like 20, in good and bad ways. And what I would say is Sean is probably the most humble senior executive in tech today. I would definitely stand by that. You're an amazing guy.
Thank you.
And we're going to have a conversation about AI, which is going to be very interesting. And obviously, Google is one of the leaders in AI. But first, Sean, I just want to ask you, because you really have been a champion, even before it was kind of cool to be a champion of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And there's a few things that you did as a leader of a sector before you became the leader of the President of the Americas. So can you tell the group about what you did at Google? And he was not asked to do this. This was not an initiative at Google. Nobody from HR said, hey, Sean, why don't you do this? He thought of it himself, and he took the initiative, and then it spread throughout Google.
Well, nobody from HR should ever tell you to do the right thing, right? So that's always the first principle. Look, I come from a technology background, and I come from a startup background. I just happen to have a really big job and a really big platform right now. But I went through like 6 or 7 startups early in my career, and then small stage companies that eventually became big companies and got bought. And I always developed this belief system in those companies that innovation is what makes companies successful, whether you do well commercially or not. Like, you get that energy, you get that attitude, and you start to solve really big problems. And that requires you to have people that feel like when they come through the doors, they can contribute, their ideas matter, they can be their best selves at work. Everyone always says bring your full self. I'm like bring your best self. And that happens when you can come in, you can contribute, you can tell people who you are, what you stand for, and you have a seat at the table that creates fairness and equity in every decision that you make, right? So that's always like a underlying belief system that I have. And any major technology founder or CEO always describes innovation in the same way. It's unlocking people's potential. And I think you just have to do that through community. And when you work at a big company like Google, you get handed a lot of generic programs. They're really well-intentioned, they're very good, but they're not always helping you solve that problem. And you want people to feel seen. So what we try to do is I just try to build some sense of connection with people, and some of this happens organically, where how do you get people to feel that they believe? You see them. Right, and we started this weekly series where we wanted to make sure that there was a cultural element first and foremost in everything that we did. So my weekly all hands that we were doing was all about doing what we would call courageous conversations. And we started that out during COVID, and what's it like to be stuck in a 400 square foot apartment in Brooklyn, or raising 5 kids with homeschooling, or having 5 roommates that don't wash the dishes. Everyone had a different situation, and we wanted to have people share their authentic experience so others like them or in the same situation could feel they weren't alone, right? So that we always built that as an organic basis. And then we said, what if we just tackled more taboo topics? How do we talk about racial equity? That we started doing that with some of the George Floyd activity that summer. How do we tackle same-sex marriage? How do we tackle multiracial marriage? How do we tackle infertility? And we would just have people come tell their story in front of 500 people, share a little bit about themselves, and then share some resources about how people could get more involved to become either an ally or share their own experiences. And I found that just created this burgeoning community where people felt there was a lot of people that had the same issues or the same likes or the same experiences they did, and they just felt that they were a lot more welcome. And our collaboration boosted, our innovation boosted, and people just liked coming to work better because they felt it was a place for them. And that kind of became like the groundswell for us to say, this is a place where everyone's welcome, where everyone can contribute, and that's just how we approach business. And then the last thing we tried to do was we tried to make sure that leaders lead, right? Because you just can't say things, you have to demonstrate them. And if you're in this job, you are blessed with a certain platform. And my background is I'm white, I'm middle-aged, in my 50s, and I'm a man, and
And you're
I'm
straight.
straight. And I have 3 boys, and I was given a lot of benefits, and I recognize those. I was mentored differently. My education, I didn't have to pay for school afterwards, and I got a lot of breaks. Like, so your job is to pay that back as a leader. And if I can't say things, or I can't, lift up groups, then who's going to? Right? So we also just use that as the platform where I will say the taboo thing. I will call out the thing that's an inequity. I will recognize the different groups that are out there, and I will go spend the time in the communities, talking to every community, 1 on 10, about what they need to feel more comfortable and successful at Google. And that's just something that we tried to scale and implement and do more of as I got into this role, and hopefully we have a better culture for it.
It's been awesome. So how many people are in your organization right now?
Right now, there's like 3,000 or 4,000, something like that.
It's 3,000 or 4,000 salespeople across the United States. So actually, it's the Americas.
The Americas, a little bit of people hiding in Europe, so globally, I guess.
So, Sean, for all of the leaders in this room, really good example of empathy, listening, and he probably talks less than any leader I know. So when he talks, people listen and it makes an impact. So now I'm going to talk about the amazing topic of AI.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Exactly. We've had a few conversations about AI here. So Google's been a leader in AI. 2 years after I got to Google in 2016, Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Google, said, we are going to be an AI-first company. So this is 8 years ago. This is not like the last 2 years when it's become the hottest topic. So can you tell us a little bit about how you're using AI at Google, what you're really excited about at Google, and then how you're working specifically with agencies and brands using AI to really help their performance?
Yeah, well, I think Sundar did say that in 2018, and people are like, why is he saying that? And it's because you have to prepare for these moments. You have to develop the models, you have to develop the principles. So he spent a lot of time just orienting the company around how to prepare for disruption when it eventually happens, so you're ready for it. So as a result, we have really great research labs, we have a really great foundational AI models, and it's embedded in a lot of our technology already, right? So we haven't really we didn't start thinking about AI 18 months ago. We've been thinking about AI for 8 years and longer, right? Because machine learning is a form of that. My job is I get the benefit of helping brands do better and build better businesses. So I always think about it from a marketing and advertising landscape. And the first thing I always remind my customers is that you don't really require an AI strategy. You require a business strategy that's going to leverage AI to achieve better results than you could get before. So a lot of it is really education. I spent 18 months getting people through the wow moments, like, wow, there's this big thing. Let's show some shiny videos and shiny demos about it. Then last year they wanted to know how to do it. So we started talking a lot about foundational aspects of data, of creative production, of media campaign, things like that. And then this year is about the now, like how can I actually build a better business? And the mantra that I give the team and clients is, we're not just here to run better ads, we're here to run a better business for you and help you build your business. So we really think we're at an AI renaissance for advertisers, and we're trying to have them do a couple of things. One is I really just want them to embrace the brilliant basics, right? Because there's a lot of artificial intelligence built into or embedded into our advertising tools. And if they start to leverage those, they'll start to get better performance. So it could create creative a little bit faster for them. It could do some, more advanced targeting and demo profiling for them, and it could do a lot better optimization for them. And I just want them to embrace the tools as designed so that they can improve output and outcomes for their business. And then I can start to take them on more of a journey that tackles some of the bigger areas that really start to transform their business and maybe give them some strategic distance from some of the competition that they have in their sector.
So can you give a couple of examples, if you can, specifically brands or maybe sectors, where both operational efficiencies and really specific creative targeting has been enabled
Yeah.
with Google.
Well, let's talk about the difference between running a campaign and then running a campaign that grows your business, because I think that's the leap that you can start to take with AI. So we have many customers. Their first entry point is to leverage some of the automated tools like Performance Max or value-based bid. They're just tools that help you perform better in the moment without actually knowing who the consumers are. Many people do that, and they get like a 36% increase in performance. It's really nice. I think everyone should try that. Everyone should do it. What I like is when someone does that, and then they come to me and they say, Sean, how can I improve business performance? Or here's a business problem that I have. Can you help me do all the great things you just suggested to improve it? And a really great example that demonstrates the power of this is an airline, a Canadian airline. And airlines, like any other businesses, have profitable segments of their business, and they have less profitable or non-profitable segments of their business. And they were running routes in Canada that were completely unprofitable. And they brought it to us, and they said, can you help us improve performance through your AI tools to make the route more profitable? Right? Now, that's just not like campaign optimization. That's like really taking a step back and understanding the data sets that they have, helping them structure those scenarios for insights, helping them understand the true audiences that they might have, and then maybe running an AI model on top of that that gives them a better valuation of the customer. Because really it's about understanding value, right? And you're trying to get them to a value metric, and then start to generate campaigns that maybe bid higher or higher and higher. And that's really counterintuitive for a marketer to think about, that I should bid higher for certain customers, but they were bidding higher for the right customer because they put the right value on them. And that got put into our systems, and they created almost $1 billion of profitable business line from having the right consumers find the right route, right? And I think that's like that hidden power, is you can take maybe more mass marketing, and then you can start to get more value-based, profit-driven marketing by just really understanding the signals and the customers and the value that's going to actually lend to bottom-line growth. And that's a great example of someone that just thought differently about customers in the value they want to place in them, and then leverage the tools to get there.
So this is not a Google commercial, I promise, and I didn't talk to Sean about me saying this. That is one thing that Google has, is really looking at the lifetime value of a consumer or a customer, because you have so many products with search, with display, with video, with a DSP. I mean, it's just amazing how you can really solve a business problem, not just run a campaign. So I definitely did not understand that until I went to Google, and it's pretty cool. So do you have any other examples of other, probably like advertisers or brands, where they're just really taking innovative approaches with marketing in general? It
Yeah.
can be AI driven, but they're just thinking about marketing or advertising differently.
Well, you have to, like, I think you put like this, your early days on AI in marketing, and you have to have a parallel view, right? So I like to take like a 1 to 3 year view, because those are things that I can actionably do with a marketer, and I'll run you through some of those. And then I like to take a 3 to 5 year view about where are you actually bringing somebody that has business transformation. Because you could sit back on a couch, and I could say to any CMO or CEO, and I could tell them that artificial intelligence will disrupt and change the way their marketing organization works. It's use case 0, right? And they could give me a vision that they're going to automate all their creative production, they're going to automate all their measurement and insights, and they're going to automate all their media buying, and they're just going to work next to agents. That's 3 to 5 years away, right? So how do you get there? So we have our customers tackling a handful of things. One is we think they can make significant movements on measurement and insights. So we work with a lot of measurement partners to help them get...
This is the DoubleVerify part
Yeah,
of the
the
commercial.
DoubleVerify bug, to help them get better insights. Like the greatness of the Canadian airline story was it was better insights, right? So helping them understand how they can leverage what they know about their own customers. We always call it like first-party data. How they're using maybe some of the other signals that exist in the technology or their platforms, structure it better, and make better decisions, and then measure it against profit, right? So we have hundreds of advertisers moving into database-driven structuring that allow them to put better value, better insights that just feed campaign structures better. And then they'll transform that over time to do all kinds of things that we haven't yet imagined. But it's use case one. Like, better data leads to better outcomes in an AI world.
Do most of your clients like try to take a campaign or a brand and then expand it beyond that, or do they tackle it? They try to tackle it at a scaled level?
What most of them are doing at a scaled level, because there's benefits to those things. Because if they have one set of data structure, they'll be able to do that. And that serves every business, honestly. Like, I attended a dinner the other night we sponsor a lot of founders on small businesses. We give grants for them. And they're just running AI for all kinds of businesses. And I met a woman who was doing better prediction on the direction a wildfire might take in Southern California based on understanding the data patterns of the ashes. Like, really interesting stuff. Carbon emissions on concrete and how they start to advise municipalities how to find the right carbon production. Water testing in municipalities. You name it, they had all these areas, and it always came back to the first thing they did was take all the unstructured data and insights that exist in the world and put them in a structured area so they could make better decisions, right? And then turn that into technology. So that use case is applicable to anyone that wants to transform and make smarter, faster, more efficient decisions. So I always try and steer marketer to that base case, right? Set your organization up to have the biggest impact long term. Do the hard work now, right? And you did a lot of that when you were at Google. You worked with some of the world's largest advertisers, trying to convince them of that. And now the technologies lead to where they can see benefits, right? So then they can put any campaign they want into it, because you can start to ask for the insights that you want for that campaign, and then apply it. And you're gonna find you're gonna be more profitable or productive as a business, right? So that's a use case. The other one is what you might love is creative. Everyone loves to talk about generative AI making images from scratch. Most marketers are like, how can I make creative faster in more versions? And we have like really great marketers. Google is a great marketer. It's one of the world's largest marketers. And they've used the creative revolution to build things faster. So they've been understanding what works better historically, gotten insights on brand placement, color schemes, messaging, and almost use it like a focus group that cuts off 6 months of cycles to produce a better creative that performs better. And a lot of people have started to do that. And then they can use that and they can build for scale, right? Because if you're gonna use AI, the thing that limits personalization is the number of creatives that are used, right? Most marketers start with 5 digitally because they're expensive. In some cases, you might need 500,000 or 1 million pieces of unique creative. So how can systems develop them based on the parameters you put in? Like, that's a use case as well.
So is Google using generative AI to create those commercials and then serving them digitally programmatically? Is that how you're doing that?
They're not even using them to create commercials. So if you were taking our marketing experience, they've used the insights to tell the creative agency what to build, right? And then they've used tools to build more versions faster, right? But they're not into that. It generates it automatically, because there's still like this connection where you need to have the right imagery. You still want the human element. And the thing I always want people to realize is AI is probably helping bring humanity back to that process versus where it was. Because what you're giving is really smart, creative human beings the ability to think of the big idea, to think of the impactful message, and to think of the design structure that's going to have the most impact on the brand, and then design that, and then let technology next to them build out all the hard stuff that costs money, right? So, but that frees the human being up to create that emotion, create that connection, and find that message that really resonates. And that's how Google is using it. That's how people like Mondelez are starting to use it, so that they could just build more versions faster and have their really smart, creative humans that work for their company design the brief, if you would.
So being more human-centric, let's talk a little bit about ethical AI. Google is in the news all the time. It was one of the things that stressed me out all the time, because literally I had Google Alerts set for Google, and every morning I got up, there was literally like 100 emails that talked about articles that Google was in. So you face that times 100,000. Can you talk a little bit about Google's approach to ethical AI?
Bold, but responsible. That's if you remember any tagline, you be bold, but you be responsible. And one of the great things that I thought Sundar and Google Leads did in 2018 is they built their principles for AI development early. And they were things like protect user safety, have guardrails, help the community, not harm the community. So there's a very high bar about developing technology and making sure that you understand unintended consequences for it, and making sure that you understand how it can be used before you launch it, right? And that can sometimes feel at odds with innovation, but we'd rather have innovation at a slower pace and be right as we can be, because everyone makes a little bit of mistake here and there, than be wild and undisciplined, right? So it's always like that responsibility factor is a really important thing for us. And that's why we always try and get people to adopt the basics first, right? Because there are so many things that you can do before you get to the outlandish use cases. And anytime you build a house, you build a foundation. Like anytime you build a business, you build the basics of the business first. Like this is not a foreign concept to anyone. So the marketer or any technology company is build the basics first, and then understand your limits and governance associated to it. Am I going to use it to develop audience segmentation? If so, what am I willing to do for data? What am I not willing to do so I can protect user privacy and trust? Because consumers reward brands that treat their data right or treat them right, and don't use brands that don't. Like there's a very simple value exchange there. So we just always ask our customers and ourselves to understand your values, your no-go zones, and build those into your foundational principles, and then develop after it.
So DoubleVerify is a partner of Google's. We make sure, so Nike is a client. I got my Nike kicks on. When Nike spends on YouTube, we make sure that the ad is seen by a real human, fraud-free, not seen by a bot, or not a bot, and is in the geographical location that Nike wants it to be in.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. And Nike's an amazing client. How do you approach, specifically with AI, your partnerships with the people that are, the companies that are kind of between you and your end client, like a Nike or like a Procter & Gamble?
Well, first of all, they're our joint client. We both work in service of Nike. And when I go see the CEO of Nike or the CMO, I commit to them I'm working with all their partners to make their brand better, right? So I never view it as you're in between me and my client, because they're not mine. Like they work with everyone, and my job is to make sure that they're successful. So I want to embrace DoubleVerify and other companies fully, right, and make sure we solve problems. I think what's happening now is I have this vision of how we really develop a foundational ecosystem around technology, right? Because you're going to make marketers more sophisticated. Nike's going to be more sophisticated by definition because they have access to more things. And I need to be able to plug their partners, great work and intelligence, and have it activated on my platforms, right? So that's whether it's really strong APIs for you, how do we do data cleansing with you in a safe and private way, how do I give you all the insights that you need from our systems so you can make the right decisions for them. It really is making sure that the tools they want to use to build their brand are integrated into Google, right? Because when it shows up on YouTube and it shows up on Google search, I want them to have their best foot forward, right? So I would see us being more leaned into how do we get that information back and forth, and how do we make sure that the enterprise integrations are really smartly done. And then I have a huge customer base that doesn't use anyone because they're small businesses. Like one of the things I love about Google is I can make the small business in Cincinnati, Ohio, just as big as Nike maybe. Like you give them the same opportunities. Like they can build a global customer base, they can do global fulfillment differently. We just give access to different things. And they might not be as sophisticated as Nike, so I try and build as many of those tools into my systems as possible so they have the best chance as they can to succeed.
I love that I did not shout out Cincinnati. I'm from Cincinnati, and Sean did. I'm a huge Cincinnati fan. All right, we're going to wrap up. Last question is just around future, like future predictions of where you think AI can take brands improving their performance, whether that's with Google, with agencies, with other outside partners?
Yeah, so this is if you're thinking like 3 to 5 years ahead. What I try and convince a brand of is that everyone has access to AI tools. They could probably be democratized if you want, because they're going to be commercialized by me or somebody else. The brands that take advantage of them now will create some strategic distance for themselves, because once you get into that flywheel, you'll get ahead. So I would say if I took measurement insights, I'd say it goes from building databases to you can write your campaign brief and your audience segmentation brief off of the best insight to have the best chance to succeed first, and that'll be automated and it'll help you build your brief, right? And that's going to shorten the cycle between idea to execution. Like, that's the future of marketing for them. So you'll have planners sitting next to those machines doing that. If I'm creative, it will probably be writing my creative brief for me based on those insights and my brand assets. I'll build the campaign, and then I'll have all those creatives automatically built and put into my systems. So I'll put smart humans next to scaled production. If I'm a media buyer, I'll likely be a data scientist. I'll have to interpret data, I'll have to interpret performance, and I'll have to understand how to place value on things, and then I'll let my systems spend that money to the best effect, right? So you're going to see this future where they've probably automated many of the tasks that exist in a marketing department, created a bunch of efficiencies for themselves, and then they've invested that in smarter people doing more high-value jobs, and maybe have more above-the-line budget to drive growth.
All right, huge thanks to Sean Downey. Give it up. He's an amazing ally at one of the most powerful companies in the world. So thank you very much, Sean.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.